Hi everyone, this is Sanjeev Venkatram and welcome back to Business Insights. I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes talking about part 7 of applying the Microsoft platform to the manufacturing space. Note, this is also applicable cross-industry and especially to the higher education vertical. In part 7 now and in this video, I'd like to highlight 3 key points. 1. The relative ease of setting up the Python environment within the Power BI desktop tool. 2. The relative ease of running a machine learning algorithm, Kmeans Clustering in this case, using Python, embedded in Power BI. And 3. The ease of using Microsoft Teams to collaborate across various functional groups. Before I get into the demo, let me spend a few minutes talking about the need for running Python-based machine learning algorithms on Power BI. A well-known fact of machine learning is the need for clean data. Power BI is typically a key component of most BI architectures and already contains structured data that lends itself well to running machine learning algorithms. Now, given Power BI's support for Python, the number one tool to run AI algorithms on, this becomes a perfect combination. With this, let's get right into the demo, and I have 3 parts to it. First, setting up Python. We open Power BI and select Options. We click on Preview Features and select Python Support. We click OK and reboot Power BI. On the Python side, please make sure that the package is installed on your machine. In my case, it is on my C drive. Additionally, the following libraries need to be installed in Python. A. Pandas, a library for data analysis. B. Numpy, a library for multi-dimensional arrays. And C. Matlibplot, a library for plotting. Second, a brief overview of Kmeans clustering, which in simple terms is a machine learning technique used to identify groups among objects. These objects could be anything, people or customer segments in the manufacturing industry or in any industry for that matter. If we take a set of people, all we'll know by looking at them is their physical characteristics such as height and weight as an example. We will have no idea as to how fast they can run a marathon, which tells us we are dealing with unlabeled data. And the aspect of machine learning dealing with unlabeled data is called unsupervised learning. With this, let's see the process in action. To start with, we bring up Python within Power BI. We select the Python visualization and add a field to values to bring up the Python script editor. In the editor, and as mentioned before, we import the respective libraries. Now, as the first step in clustering, also called initialization, we then bring in the data points x and y as a data frame. To understand the Python code better, we'll look at what the code is doing in Microsoft Excel as well. As you can see, we have the same x and y data points. We first select the number of groups we want to make out of the dataset, 3 in this case. You see the very same thing in Python code as well. Next, we at random select 3 centroids or mean values. We will get to y in a little bit. The centroids are represented by C1, C2 and C3 as can be seen. Note that we want the centroids to remain constant as we run the Python script, and we fix this by applying the seed function in Python. Now we run the code and see the data points and the respective centroids in red, blue and green. The second step of the process then is to calculate the distance between each centroid and each of the values. Getting back to Excel, and in this example, the value of 12 minus 26, the first value of the centroid. Given that this difference is negative, we either take the absolute value of this difference or square the value. We then proceed with this exercise for all values of x and y and the centroids. We then take the square root of the distances between the first x and y values with their corresponding centroid. With this, we have 3 distinct columns for the 3 centroids. Once we have these data points for the 3 centroids, we look for the minimum of the 3 values. We now assign a cluster to this minimum value based on which column contains the minimum value, column 1 in this case. We call this cluster 1. We proceed further to do this exercise for all rows and hence arrive at our first cluster assignment. The Python code in Power BI does much the same thing in step 2, the assignment step. Once we have the first set of clusters assigned, we now proceed to recalculate the centroids. Getting back to Excel, we do this by taking the average of x and y values of each of the values of the cluster. We then arrive at our new centroid values. We proceed to repeat the step 2 and assign new clusters. We further repeat these steps until such time the values of the centroids do not change. This means we have converged to a solution and the cluster we have arrived at have been optimized. Back in Python, we can see this by running the full code in the final visual. As can be seen, the centroids now are situated as close to the midpoint of each of the clusters. Now, on a different note, and as a means of collaboration with different operational groups or engineering teams, we could use the outstanding Microsoft Teams tool. So let me bring this up. As you can see, Microsoft Teams has many tabs, one of which is a conversation tab. We see a video call down here, so let's get into one. This gives me the ability to meet right away, and as I bring this up, I can share my entire screen if need be, and share my code real-time with my teams and get immediate feedback. And these meetings can be recorded. One could also use the IM or chat window without having to leave the app. I trust this gives you a view of how one can A. set up Python within the Power BI environment and leverage great data sets that Power BI typically contains. B. As to how one could run machine learning algorithms, clustering in this case, from within Power BI. And finally, as to how one can collaborate and share information with colleagues and groups using Microsoft Teams. Thank you very much. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this video are mine and do not state to reflect those of Microsoft.